Jeff Cannata here with another newest, latest, best mini. I just got home moments ago from the press screening of Amazing Spider-Man 2. Electric Boogaloo? No. A lot of thoughts. Okay. Literally just walked in the door trying to process Amazing Spider-Man 2. As you know, if you know me at all, Marvel Zombie from way back. Love Spider-Man. If you saw my review however many years ago now of Amazing Spider-Man 1, you know that I was not a fan of that movie. Disappointed. As much as I loved Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker and Spider-Man, and I thought that was a real step forward for the character, great actor, and a fantastic portrayal, I think, of the character, that movie was wrong in so many ways, and I was so disappointed with that reboot. I thought there's such potential for that character, and I wasn't really a big fan of the Sam Raimi films, and I just thought, oh no, here we go again. So I think I had low expectations, but I had some little tremblings of hope that Amazing Spider-Man 2 would fix a lot of those problems and would be really a lot better film. And I'm here to tell you, it is a lot better film. It's got its own problems, but it's much better than the first movie, so take heart in that. I enjoyed it a lot. I'm not going to go into spoilers. If you want to hear me talk spoilers on this movie, listen, I'll be on the /filmcast next week. So check that out at /film.com, and I'll have a link to that on my website, jeffcannata.com. Here's my non-spoiler take on Amazing Spider-Man 2. There's a lot to like. Andrew Garfield, again, is fantastic as Peter Parker. He's funny, he's charming, he's approachable, he's really, really great. I love the humor of Spider-Man in this version of the character on screen. In the first movie, and even more here, there's the opening action sequence of this movie. Well, there's a sort of a prologue sequence, and then there's an opening action sequence. The first Spider-Man action sequence is really, I think, the best part of the movie. It's Spider-Man taking down street-level criminals like we see him do in the comics all the time. He does it with humor. He does it with panache. He's in complete control of the situation. He's handling things in a humorously bumbling, average Joe kind of way. And that's who Spider-Man is to me growing up. That's the character that I love. And it's so perfectly visualized on the screen, actualized on the screen in that opening action sequence. I loved it. The movie, this series is incredibly impatient, I feel. Trying to get so much crammed into this sequel, so much crammed into the first one, so much crammed in here. I think it does a disservice to the character and to the story. When this movie takes its time, it's really wonderful. The relationship that you get between Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy that continues to develop in the second movie. The relationship you get between Peter Parker and Harry Osborn that blossoms in this movie. Just the character moments between people are lovely and wonderful, and really they shine. I think Mark Webb, the director, does such a great job in just filming these wonderful character moments that make me wish that the rest of the movie was handled with the same care and patience, because we're cramming not one but two villains into the storyline again, and we need their origin stories. You know, when you have characters like Spider-Man or Batman that have these long rogues galleries, that have these vast cadre of villain characters that are also interesting and dynamic and come along with the license when they were purchased by the companies that make their films, I think there's this desire to have each movie follow the same template, which is give us a little bit of our hero, but then give us an origin story for a new villain in each movie, or as the case may be, multiple new villains in each movie. And I think that that's just not very fun. It's a little tired at this point. And the Marvel movies, the real Marvel Studios movies, are smart in that they haven't done that. Avengers, Captain America 2, they're not about origin stories for villains. They're about our heroes, and yeah, there's villains that come in and out of them, but we don't really, it's not about showing us how the villains got their powers. It's more interesting than that, and more ambitious than that. And I think those movies take their time in setting things up movie to movie. Here we got so much crammed in. We have to have characters like B.J. Novak in this movie plays a character whose really sole purpose is to just give us exposition for one of the villains to explain his backstory. And Jamie Foxx, who plays Electro, is wasted, in my opinion. I mean, Electro's powers look awesome, and the action sequences with Electro are really spectacular, but the character itself is really two-dimensional. There's this sort of paper-thin lip service given to his motivation as being somebody who was always invisible and now wants to be seen, but it doesn't pay off, and it's not handled with care, and it's not given the time it needs to really pay off in the end and really be something that we care about as an audience. And he starts out as a bumbling, nerdy character, and then he turns into a superpower. It just doesn't matter. It doesn't have the breadth in the movie to stand on its own. Harry Osborn is more interesting, but where he goes in the movie happens so fast and so quick that it doesn't land with the resonance, and it doesn't really make much sense unless you've read the comics. But there is a lot of really cool stuff. The action sequences are awesome and visually stunning, and I saw the movie in 3D. I thought the 3D was really good, even though it was a post 3D process. And the sound was really cool. The score was great. And there are these wonderful moments in the action sequences where everything stops or slows down to a point where Spidey, we can see the camera goes in through the crowd, and we see how he's picking apart his next moment to do all the cool stuff he's going to do. And that really worked for me. I loved it. I thought the web slinging, I thought the visualization of Spider-Man was fantastic. I think that they really altered his costume this time. It doesn't look so slick and produced and neoprene-y. It looks more fabric and clothing, and sort of, you just see a teenage kid there. And as much as this is the ultimate comics version, Marvel's Ultimate line version of Spider-Man, with all of the stuff that Bendis threw in, a backstory with his parents and sort of aligning everything, funneling everything through Oscorp, I feel like that does a disservice to Spider-Man the character. I really do. The thing that's magical about Spider-Man, and always has been when I was a kid, is, and generation before that, is he could be you. This could be you. You don't have to have the dad who's a genius who worked at Oscorp. You don't have to come from this vast conspiracy that's built up from the father and the mother and all that stuff. You're just a kid on a field trip, and you get bitten by a radioactive spider, and now with great power comes great responsibility. That's the beauty of Spider-Man, that he has to go to school, and he has to deal with girlfriends, and he has to deal with bullies, and he has to deal with all the stuff that a normal teenage boy has to deal with. And yet he also has superpowers. That's the magic of Spider-Man, not this grand conspiracy, not the fact that he was special in some way, or the spider was special in some way, or all the BS that we get in this new version of Spider-Man that loads his backstory up. I think we could have trimmed that fat. It doesn't matter. Just because we're a conspiracy theory nation at this point, or a conspiracy theory world, and everything's got to have layers and layers of backstory in it, I think that just muddies the situation. Strip that out, invest it in making the characters that Peter interacts with as interesting as his relationship with Gwen Stacy and Harry Osborn, and give the villains time to evolve, and don't cram so many of them into each movie. Earlier this week on this YouTube channel, I talked about Justified, and I know that's a television show that has hours and hours and hours to develop, but it's centrally about Raylan Givens and Boyd Crowder, a good guy and a bad guy. And it's the same good guy and bad guy through the whole 5 seasons that's been going for so long. And we have built up heat, and we build up pressure, and then something big happens and we relieve that pressure, and then we build it up again. I mean, they do that in professional wrestling all the time too. You can't blow off the heat too early, or the crowd doesn't get what they've been wanting. And I feel like that's the lesson in these Spider-Man movies, is that you blow off the heat too quickly. There's no build up, there's no satisfaction in seeing Spider-Man face off against these enemies because it's just the next guy on the list. And I honestly would have had and would have way more fun watching Spider-Man take down a bunch of street thugs with his panache and silly quips like we get at the beginning of this movie. As glorious and visually stunning as the stuff is with Electro, I don't care about that character. It's just the next road bump on Spider-Man's way to wherever he's headed in the next Sinister Six movie. And I know everybody needs to be Marvel now, but they don't understand that the lesson of Marvel is that these things lead up to something, that they don't blow it off right away, that, you know, Loki was established in multiple films before he faced off against the Avengers. So, also very disappointed that there wasn't an end after the credits stinger with this movie. But as I said, there's a lot to like. It's a much better film than the first one is. It's still got a really great lead. The chemistry between he and Emma Stone is palpable and great. I think the actor who plays Harry Osborn is fantastic. He seems to me like a young Leonardo DiCaprio. And there's a lot of visually awesome stuff that you get to see, and Spidey acts like Spidey. It's just so impatient and so rushed in certain sequences that if it just slowed down and took its time, it would be so much more satisfying as a series and as a character. So those are my thoughts. As I said, you can hear me talk about Spider-Man 2 on the Slash Filmcast this week. And as always, there'll be more NLB minis on this YouTube channel. So subscribe and like. Thanks for watching.